Well, that was episode 4, titled Soldier. Spent the majority of the time with like the same people in the same location. We actually haven't done that a lot, at least in the previous episodes from this season. It's been jumping around a lot and then focusing on like a bit more on some people than others. But in this one, is exclusively with the recruits and then some of the scouts as well, who had to, in the end, give up their lives to protect the recruits. It was really tough to watch, this one. It was just so intense all the way through, and you really feel for these characters. You don't want anything to happen to any of them, but they are in such a shitty situation that something was bound to happen. At least we didn't lose any of the recruits so far, even though it looked like we were about to lose Rainer for a second there, and I was like, no fucking way, please don't. Please don't. But no, they were able to get that smaller-ish Titan out. What did you think about this one?
Oh, there was a lot of information, a lot of things happening, like tiny
details,
hints.
Hints. Yeah.
It was kind of a little bit hard to. I think the focus was a little bit all over the place. Then we thought maybe there was something with Rainer and his background, and or at least that's what I thought that this episode was going to be about, because we saw these flashback situations to when someone saved Rainer.
Yes.
And died in the same way that he saved Connie.
But didn't die,
yeah. And then someone asked about Rainer, like how they asked Bertolt about how Rainer was as a kid, or like early on, and I just felt like then that was going to be about Rainer primarily, but then there was also all of this stuff with Ymir and the whole thing with the food on like with the
canned goods,
food, like with some language that.
Yeah, that was interesting. Where does that come from? What part of the world is that from? Why did Ymir know how to read that? And Rainer definitely noticed, but it was one of those cases where like they just got, that whole conversation just ended abruptly because they got attacked. But you have a theory, it seems like.
You remember how I read into Ymir's name? Mm-hmm. How Ymir was one of the first, if not the person that actually gave birth to like the first people. I don't know if not necessarily like the first people, but we know like the people of Ymir and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I cannot help but think, since it might have been maybe some old language, like pre wars and everything, and maybe it's just like a very select few that are still able to. Now we know that she's able to transform.
Yep.
So what if is she with or against, or like is she with the faction that Annie is also a part of?
Yeah, or do they come from the same place? Do they have some sort of a similar background? Who are these other people who seem to have like another language, and where do they come from? I can't stop thinking about, or at least I equate it to like when we watch or if we experience a story that's taking place in sort of a post-apocalyptic setting, you will get like those remnants of like the old world or something like that, where the language is different and they can't really make, okay, so what is this device even, or something like that, that you'd see in a game like Horizon Zero Dawn, which I'm playing at the moment. You played it.
We recently watched Planet of the Apes, like back from 69, right? 69? 68. 68. Yeah. So that I think they did something similar also with like where they saw something from the old world and were like,
and arguing what it is and what sort of function it had. And
exactly.
It just reminds me in a sense of that. So Ymir and other people are of this like older world, older civilization that, of course, like that civilization maybe was inhabiting like a lot of like the lands maybe, and then everything happened with the Titans, and then we got the walls and forming like a new society, but there was an older society before everything happened, and they are more closely linked to the Titans in some way, and yada yada yada. But it's difficult to sort of say right now at least that's what happened. But we're getting more hints, we're getting more clues about certain things, and then trying to sort of connect the dots, and it feels like we got a bunch of those in this episode in particular. And it also seemed like just beyond the canned food, there was also something about the writing on the bottle as well, maybe, because they never really found out like exactly what kind of alcohol it was, or maybe that's just it's at least it's an old castle.
Yeah, and they were like it was like contraband, and they were like there's been people here before us.
Yes.
Recently.
Yeah, like bandits and so on. And where do they necessarily then come from?
Yeah, are you sure that's bandits?
Yeah,
maybe they could be these people, this other faction of humans. They're just basically operating from the shadows. I don't know, but like something of that sort.
Yeah, or maybe like humans are a relatively new race in this lore. And like before the humans, it was actually Titans and Titan-ish humans.
I'm still gonna stick with my theory that Titans are made from people, like from humans.
But maybe like those humans that are connected to the Titans, that they were the ones who were inhabiting the lands and the planet, like before like the straight up humans who can't turn into Titans. But I don't know. It's just a thought. But let's maybe look at with Rainer then, because you mentioned and we thought that we were going to be focusing maybe a bit more on him, but we still got some stuff with him and the flashback where someone saved him and then he did the same thing to Connie, and it was definitely some person who meant something to him. And then Berthold said this thing about Rainer being a warrior before.
Mm-hmm.
And the title of the episode is Soldier, and they also talked about what it means to be a soldier, and there's a difference there, and I think that's the point they were trying to make, is he was just he was always good at fighting and good at like taking charge and so on, mm-hmm. but he was maybe just fighting for himself, whereas a soldier, you fight for the people around you. You fight for something.
And
a warrior,
with someone, right?
And with someone most of the time. A warrior doesn't necessarily have to fight for something.
They just fight.
They just fight. Like you can be a soldier and a warrior at the same time, I guess. But if you do, being a warrior doesn't necessarily mean that you're also a soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're not mutually
exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get what we're trying to say here. That was at least, I think, a point they were trying to make. And then we also got a little bit more with Krista. At least just the whole falling in love with Krista thing. And Rainer
marry her.
Rainer once again was like, I'm gonna marry her.
But I thought it kind of confusing, because with the whole canned food scene.
Yeah, I think
he said, "You're not looking for guys," and she said, "You're not looking for."
You don't seem. Ymir said to Rainer, "You don't seem interested in girls," and he shot back with, "Well, you don't seem interested in guys either." And I think we both took it as, well, okay, maybe they're not, like, Rainer is just not into like women, really. Like,
I forgot the whole thing with Krista.
Yeah, because he said it earlier when she came with the horses, and like they all sort of fell in love with her at that point. So my mind went in that direction as well. And then when we got the flashback, I thought maybe the person who sort of sacrificed himself to save Rainer, that was like a previous romantic interest, love. Yeah. Or maybe he's bi. Like, I don't know.
He can definitely be bi, but then you would be interested in girls also, and everything in between. So it's just, I know. It's I was just confused. It could also just mean that they're simply not interested in romances at the moment,
because
at least,
of everything that's going on, which is also very understandable.
They could also be aces. So like an ace is a word of like it's how people who are asexual how they refer to themselves. But I also saw that Ymir was talking about like when he had his arm broken and all that, and then Ymir was like, please help me. I also got something.
Yeah. I also want Krista to sort of take care of me here. So
maybe she is interested in.
Yeah, well, maybe like they're just not trying to think about it or focus on romance, but when someone like Krista is right in front of you, and apparently she's just so amazing and beautiful and sweet, then you can't help but just fall in love with her a little bit. So, yeah.
And what you said about with the tough love from Ymir, I do think that sometimes she can be very inappropriate, and she definitely knows something. And I think that the reason why she was just almost mocking Connie, it could have been because she knew what was going on, but didn't want to say anything and didn't want him to start guessing things. And then when she just like blurted out and,
Yeah, I've thought about that as well, that she was trying to like steer him away from that train of thought. And it could be because she was like, I care about you, I don't want you to go down that road just yet, or I don't want you thinking about it because it's something I know something about and I want to keep it a secret. Or
it's definitely fishy, and it's set up like all the things that we're questioning. It's on purpose. Like it's the way that it's set up, it's clearly on purpose. Whether it's a red herring or not, it's on purpose. So all the questions that we are asking right now, that most of you guys out there watching this, that you are like, the answers to, you have the burden of knowledge or the gift of knowledge, depending on your point of view. We don't. So while it might seem clear to you because you are on the other side of like knowledge, these are all the questions that we're asking right now because we're supposed to, because it's given away like that.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean that we've made up our minds about certain characters. Like we can always change our minds when we get new information. And again, I think this series, this show, it's very deliberate in like the information that it's giving out and the pacing, all of that.
Yeah, and the minute I started like I was really expecting Ymir to turn. I think that was when Krista started like wanted to die a heroic death or something. That was where the seed was planted with me. I was just like, it's not Krista. It's Ymir.
Yeah. Something's gonna happen, and we know also Ymir is looking out for Krista and has been doing it for a while. And they made some sort of promise to each other on a snowy mountaintop, or
that
when
she
they
was
were
not
training.
able to remember apparently. So.
Yeah, but at least Ymir is very much willing to risk her own life and jump out there. And I would also, if I had that power, it would be more willing to jump out there and start fighting the Titans instead of just me and a knife. that would suck. But I just want to get into the next one now.
Me too, yeah.
And see what the hell is going to happen, if we're going to pick up right where it left off and we're going to see Ymir taking out these Titans. Most likely going to spend some time with some other characters then in the next episode.
Always like that, yeah.
But I also want to see, with the Beast Titan, we got a little bit of the Beast Titan in this one. It was certainly commanding these other Titans, and there was a strategy about it, the way that it was doing it, and it threw that fucking rock. And then after that, climbed down on the other side of the wall, and it's gonna do something. But do you have anything else you want to add to this one? Beyond the fact that like the people who did sacrifice themselves. I'm sorry, I don't remember all the names, but just all of those deaths, they've actually really hurt. Like, even though I can't remember all of their names, they still had an impact on me, and then their deaths had an impact on me, and the way that it happened. It's just not fair. as he said.
Yeah, he just really wanted a bit of booze and he didn't get it.
One last fucking drink. Can't even get that. No. Come on, world. What the fuck?
Yeah. They might also hurt less if he was intoxicated. But also, I was a bit like, I couldn't help but wonder about when, short blonde hair, when she was being...
Nana Baba?
Nanaba
or something? I think something like that.
Yeah.
Nanaba. Yeah.
Nanabe?
Maybe.
Nanabe?
Short hair, blunt.
Yeah.
Yes, go.
She was screaming out and saying something like, "Father, don't do it. I promise I won't do it again." Stuff like that.
I think maybe she just went completely into like just traumatized and hurting and going into past memories maybe.
Yeah, something
like she
like
had
that,
at
yeah.
that point her leg had already been bit off and it
Yeah.
was that was tough to watch.
Absolutely.
Abso-fucking-lutely. But that's going to do it for this reaction and review of Attack on Titan Season 2 Episode 4. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and we'll see you very soon. Bye.
Bye. Yeah, and they were like, it was like contraband, and they were like, there's been people here before us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, it was like contraband, and they were like, there's been people here before us.
Yeah.
It was like contraband. It was like contraband.